यदूनां पतये नमः। नमः परमकल्याण नमः परममङ्गल वासुदेवाय शान्ताय यदूनां पतये नमः। नमः परमकल्याण नमः परममङ्गल वासुदेवाय शान्ताय यदूनां पतये नमः। वासुदेवाय शान्ताय यदूनां पतये नमः। माताजीस नमः परमकल्याण नमः परममङ्गल वासुदेवाय शान्ताय यदूनां पतये नमः। नमः. Somebody want? Yes. नमः परमकल्याण नमः परममङ्गल वासुदेवाय शान्ताय यदूनां पतये नमः। नमः. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances. Paramakalyana, you are the supreme auspiciousness. Namaha, our respectful obeisances unto you. Paramamangala, whatever you do is good. Vasudevaya, and to the original personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Shantaya, and to the most peaceful, Yadunam, of the Yadu dynasty. Pataye, and to the controller. Namaha, our respectful obeisances unto you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya Viscount. Translation. O supremely auspicious, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you, who are the supreme good. O most famous descendant and controller of the Yadu dynasty, O son of Vasudeva, O most peaceful, let us offer our obeisances unto your lotus feet. Purport. The word Paramakalyana is significant because Krishna, in any of his incarnations, appears in order to protect the sadhus. Paritranaya sadhunam. The sadhus, saintly persons or devotees, are always harassed by non-devotees, and Krishna appears in his incarnations to give them relief. This is his first concern. If we study the history of Krishna's life, we shall find that for most of his life, he predominantly engaged in killing demons one after another. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadari. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namah Paramam Kalyana Namah Paramamangala Vasudevaya Shantaya Yadunam Pataye Namaha. O supremely auspicious, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you, who are the supreme good. O most famous descendant and controller of the Yadu dynasty, O son of Vasudeva, O most peaceful, let us offer our obeisances unto your lotus feet. Okay, now, so we are continuing with the prayers of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So Nalakuvara and Manigriva are realizing the supremacy of Krishna, and also they invoked how he is the supreme protector, how he is the cosmic manifestation, the gross and subtle aspects. They also glorified the Lord, how he is controlling the three modes of the material nature, and how the Lord is aware of every small nuances because he's seated in the heart as Paramatma. And also they pointed out that it is not possible for anyone to understand his position by blunt material senses. It is not possible to understand him. So, so that was another realization that they brought forth. Yeah, again in the verse 33, they're pointing out that how um, your glories are not easily understood because you are being covered by your own energy. That means that to understand or glorify the Lord, one has to be situated in the internal potency of the Lord. It's not possible one being covered by the material energy to properly understand the unique position of the Lord and his glories. So that was also very nicely Nalakvar and Manigriva are pointing out. And in the previous verse, the point being made is that the Lord appears every time he appears with full potency for giving protection to his devotees. So that's being pointed out, and Srila Prabhupada in the purport quotes Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya. Now in today's verse, again, some of the unique qualities of the Lord are being pointed out. The two important qualities here, they say Parama Kalyana. So the Lord is Parama Kalyana, and also the Lord is Parama Mangala. So in the word to word, Srila Prabhupada points out that Parama Kalyana means he is the supreme auspiciousness. Actually, by thinking of the Lord, by speaking about the Lord, by reminding about the Lord, by sharing about the Lord's name, fame, glories, it actually creates perfect auspiciousness or supreme auspiciousness in the human society. So that's one point. And then Parama Mangala. Here Srila Prabhupada translates Parama Mangala is whatever the Lord does, it is good. So actually, again, speaking about the Lord, glorifying the Lord, and distributing the knowledge of the Lord, that is a real welfare activity for everyone. That is what can really create or the real welfare for the society, because he is Parama Mangala. So that is another point to be understood. And yes, so in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, Vyasadev bows down to the Supreme Lord as Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he's being addressed as the son of Vasudeva. So he's called as Vasudevaya. So here, Nalakvar and Manigriva, they're addressing the Lord as Vasudeva. And another again here, a very unique quality of the Lord is being pointed out. Shantaya. So he's supremely peaceful. He's not disturbed by the dualities of this material. In the material world, we are disturbed by the dualities. But that's not the case with the Lord. The Lord, although he descends to this material world, nevertheless, he is not carried away by the modes of the material nature, because the modes of the material nature are under his control. Namam karmani limpanti name karma palesprihaha. So the point is, actually, he is the controller of the karma, or the demigods who are working under his directions, they are deputed certain activities. So they are all under his control. So he is not under the influence of the karmic activities. Although it appears He appears like a human being who descends to this material world, but he's not under the control of Maya. Maya is under his control. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya dhuratyaya. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, my material nature is also divine, but it is not possible to overcome. It's not, one cannot overcome it unless one takes mayam etam tarantite. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya dhuratyaya mam eva ye prapadhyante. One has to take shelter of Krishna to come out of the coverings of the Maya. So because he is not covered by Maya, rather the entire material nature is under his control, and there is no question of dualities for the Lord. So he can remain in that position of being Shanta. So he is again, so here Nalakuvar and Manigriva, they are addressing him as Shantaya. And then Yadunang Pataye Namaha. So he is also the protector of the Yadu dynasty. And we will see the commentaries of the Acharyas. Also, they are pointing out that Yadunam also refers to the Gopas and the Gopis. How there are some quotes that they are giving. How the Yadus also refer to the Brajavasis as well. Now, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out again the Bhakta Vatsalya nature of the Lord. So he says that the first concern of the Lord is very interesting. Prabhupada is writing this is the first concern. What is the first concern? The first concern for the Lord is to protect the sadhus. He says that is the first concern of the Lord. So the Lord may have so many, he may be having so many activities to perform, but his first priority is always protecting the sadhus. In the Ramayana, there is one interesting verse. I am not able to recollect the verse. So in that, Lord Rama is giving an assurance to all the Brahmanas. He is saying that I may even give my life, I even give the life of Lakshmana or Sita for the sake of protecting the Brahmanas, he says. He says that is the vow I have taken. So he is for the protection of the sadhus. That is the very nature of the Lord. Because for him, the devotees are his heart, and for the devotees, the Lord is in their heart. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here that the devotees are harassed by the non-devotees, but Krishna appears in various incarnations to give them relief. So that's one of the activity of the Lord. And also, if we just read the purports to Paritranaya Sadhunam, and then the next verse, Yada Yada Dharmasya and Paritranaya Sadhunam, Srila Prabhupada puts a very important point. Yes, externally the Lord comes, protects his devotees, and establishes dharma, but also the Lord wants to have loving relationships with his devotees. That is also that's one of his main motive to come to the material world, so that he can show his amazing feats, his great activities, his love towards his devotees, his reciprocation that he expresses to his devotees. So in that way, that acts as a great inspiration for the people of the Kali Yuga, or for people of any Yuga, to be attracted by the Lord's great qualities, and so that the conditioned souls can turn their face towards the Lord and give up the tendency to lord over the material nature. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, makes the point that if we study the history of Krishna's life, we shall find that for most of his life, he predominantly engaged in killing demons one after another. So yes, we can see in the Mahabharata, so far, whatever chapters we have seen, so many demons Krishna has killed, and also he's going to kill more demons. And Krishna performs his activities always to see that his devotees are in safe situation, and also by performing those activities, he gives liberation to those demons, and simultaneously Krishna can perform multifarious activities. Now, also in killing the demons, also we will discuss some points about that. Also, there could be, when we think of demon need not be only a demon who is who has externally he has appeared at some place, and then he's ferocious, he's giving great difficulties to various kind of people. The demon in the heart Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This is also troubling us. How the Lord constantly helps us to kill those demons. That also we will discuss. Now, just we will see the some interesting points from the commentary of the previous acharyas as well. Just a second. Okay. Now, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he points out that so the Lord gives, he says that the Lord gives, here it is explained that Parama Kalyana, the Lord bestows supreme auspiciousness for all the living entities, he says. So what is that supreme auspiciousness? The supreme auspiciousness is that the Lord gives love of God. This is something very, very rare. The Lord incarnates, he comes in various incarnations to please his devotees. By that also he is invoking that eternal relationship that Jivas has with Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Karay Uday. So this Krishna Prema, the love for Krishna, is hidden in our heart. So the Lord comes and he rejuvenates, he brings that back, he helps us to develop the love of God. So they acknowledge, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they acknowledged it. So he said Parama Kalyana. So he says Parama Kalyana of Prema Bhakti to the living entities. So in fact, we can see in the Damodara Ashtakam prayers, Kuveratmajau Bhadda Murtyai Vayadvat, Tvaya Mochitau Bhakti Bhajav Kritacha, Tata Prema Bhaktim Swakam Me Prayacha. They say that, please, you gave that Prema Bhakti to Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So we are also hankering. Satyavrata Muni is making a point that you please consider us also. Please give that Prema Bhakti. The Lord really is so merciful. He wants to give the topmost love for the devotees. And this is the topmost good. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in pointing out about Parama Mangala, he points out that this is the topmost good that can be done for any living entity. So there is nothing in comparison to the pure devotion. Nothing short of pure devotion can give satisfaction for the soul. And that pure devotion, when the living entities exhibit towards the Lord becomes extremely pleased. That is the only thing that can please the Lord. Nothing else can please the Lord. Money, name, fame, glories, position, whatever, that cannot attract the attention of the Lord. That which can attract the attention of the Lord is the pure heart with pure love, when the devotee offers everything in the service of the Lord. So here, the Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur acknowledges these 2 points, that Parama Kalyana is the pure love that the Lord always is ready to give to his devotees, and then Parama Mangala. In that way, he is the real well-wisher of a conditioned soul. He gives the supreme good. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami, he is pointing out that here he is pointing out that the Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they are offering respects. You can see here, Namaha Parama Kalyana, Namaha Parama Mangala. So 2 times they are offering respects to the Lord. The point is that they are completely in great bliss chanting the names of the Lord. Nalakuvara and Manigriva are chanting the names of the Lord, and they are in great bliss. As a result, they say that what is it that we can do more than that, and offering complete pranam to you. In a couple of classes back, it was discussed, Krishna's Prabhu was making the point that when we are offering obeisances, we need to be conscious to the Lord, the spiritual master, or to the superiors. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas also it is mentioned how Ashtanga Pranam, when we say Ashtanga Pranam, we offer, with our hands, chest, face, and the key point there is to remember the Lord. Remember the lotus feet of the Lord. They even say that it's like touching the lotus feet of the Lord. That should be our meditation while offering pranam, and remember the names of the Lord. In that way, submit ourselves completely for the pleasure of the Lord. So here, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they are offering their respects to the Lord, and they are in bliss chanting the names. That's what Srila Jiva Goswami is pointing out. And also he is pointing out that actually, for any reason, offering respects to the Lord always brings auspiciousness. So always brings auspiciousness, irrespective of a person without any desire to gain some material benefit from the Lord. Even suppose someone has got a desire like that, and someone who has got no desire, for both the persons it is beneficial. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udharadihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So whether a person is with full of desires, overflowing desires to satisfy his senses, akama, no desires, sarva kama, moksha kama, or a person who wants to attain liberation, either whatever may be the case, moksha kama, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udharadihi tivrena bhakti. So to engage in the pure devotion with intense, with great intensity, if he engages in pure devotional service, that is the perfect constitutional position of the jiva. That's where one has to raise himself to. So even if somebody has to go, has to attain swarga, which is not actually, they are sakama bhaktas. That's not the best thing to do. So even then, worshipping Lord is beneficial. But the real point is that one has to transcend these lower tendencies, or to satisfy the senses. One has to raise oneself to the level of satisfying the senses of the Lord. So he's pointing out that. And so Srila Jiva Goswami also is pointing out here in this verse, Parama Mangala, he says that Parama Mangala also refers to that the Lord brings auspiciousness for Shiva and Brahma. He makes the point. So here Mangala also means auspiciousness. So he points out that so the Lord is actually Shiva. The word Shiva itself means auspicious, but Vishnu or Narayana or Vasudeva or Krishna actually brings auspiciousness to Shiva and Brahma. So this is what Srila Jiva Goswami is pointing out, and by this he is pointing out that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Bhritya. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and all other demigods are his eternal servants. That is being pointed out. And he immediately gives reference to the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 28, verse 22. So he points out that Yat Chaucha Nisrita Sarit Pravarodakena Tirtena Murdnya Dikritena Shiva Shivo Bhoot Dhyatur Mana Shamala Shaila Nisrishta Vajrang Dhyaye Chirang Bhagavatas Charanaravindam. So Lord Kapila Dev is glorifying the unique position of the Lord. He says that Yat Chaucha Nibhrishta Sharit Pravarodakena. So he says that Bhagavatas Charanaravindam, one should constantly meditate upon the Lord's lotus feet. Why? Because from the Lord's lotus feet, the Ganga is sprouting. Nisrishta Sharit Pravara Udakena. And then Tirtena Mudnya Adikritena Shiva Shivo Bhut. So what is happening because of that? So who is holding that Ganga on his head? Shiva. Lord Shiva is holding it on his head. That Shiva who is auspicious becomes auspicious. He further gains auspiciousness because he is holding the Ganga on the head, which has sprouted from the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is being pointed out. And this is very interesting. In this verse, this is very, very interesting, and also it's very practically applicable for us as practicing sadhaka. He says, Dhyatur Mana Shamala Shaila Nisrishta Vajram. So he says that for the practicing yogi, what is very difficult to overcome is the mind becomes disturbed when there is a mountain of sin. See, we have all in the previous lifetimes, before having got this human form of life, we have all have so many different kinds of, in various lifetimes, we have picked up various kind of samskaras, various kind of bad habits, various kind of sins we might have performed, and that he says that it is like a big mountain, a huge mountain, which is not so easy to destroy. In a pile of garbage, okay, you can just destroy so easily, or you can throw it with something small. What are we going to do with a huge mountain of sins, or with a huge big mountain of anarthas? How are we going to deal with that? So he says that Dhyaye Chiram Bhagavatas Charanarvindam. So what happens? He says that Shaila Nisrishta Vajram. So he says that by meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, so it is like a thunderbolt which can completely destroy the whole mountain of sins that we have performed. So that's very interesting. So I'm just going to read some sections from the purport by Srila Prabhupada for this verse. I'm just going to read some sections which will, Prabhupada gives very good instructions on this. So Srila Prabhupada points out another significant point of this verse what we just read now, 3:28-22, that the conditioned soul, on account of its association with the material energy from the time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desires to lord it over material nature. The dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered when hit by a thunderbolt. Meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. So, what is the point Srila Prabhupada is suggesting here? That we should absorb ourselves, so specifically for the practicing sadhakas, we should absorb ourselves on the lotus feet of the Lord, which means, or what practically that we do is, when we chant the holy names of Krishna, we should try to hear the holy name of the Lord. So that is the process that is being given. So when we try to hear the holy name of the Lord, that is the greatest absorption. By that absorption, the huge mountain of dirt which is accumulated in our heart, it can be shattered like that of the Vajra which is sent to break the mountain. So that's one point. Prabhupada goes on to explain. Meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. If a yogi wants to shatter the mountain of dirt in his mind, he should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord and not imagine something void or impersonal. So now this again, Srila Prabhupada is making the point that actually meditation means dhyato bhagavato rupam. It's not something you meditate on something impersonal, but on the transcendental form of the Lord. Also, the word here Srila Jiva Goswami is also pointing out that Vasudevaya Shantaya. Shantaya also means that the Lord has a beautiful form. His form is not some imaginary form. His form is very beautiful. By just by looking at the form, one becomes extremely pleasing. One of the names of Lord Rama, because the residents of the Ayodhya, they were all completely in great bliss to see the beautiful form of the Lord. Yesterday I was just reading, there was one point, there was a discussion that the acharyas are raising the point that Dasharatha is also a dharmic king. So there is a question that is being raised. So if Dasharatha is very dharmic, he is potent, he has all the good qualities, then the acharyas are raising the point that why then they want to instill Lord Ram as the emperor. So a question is being raised. So for that there are so many reasons given why they want to instill Lord Ram. One of the reasons that they are given is that the citizens of Ayodhya and they are completely captivated by the beautiful form of the Lord. Just by seeing the form of the Lord, they are the same. These words of all auspiciousness is invoked, and by seeing, their mind is purified. So they make the point that it is not that they are putting down Dasharatha, but it is natural to see that Lord Ram, just by looking at him, they are completely peaceful. They are so happy. So and that everybody is so inspired to establish Lord Ram, to coronate Lord Ram. So that was another point. So here, the point that is being made is that because the dirt has accumulated like a solid mountain, one must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for quite a long time. So we have to remind ourselves that it's not that in a fortnight, it can possibly, even within a second it can happen. One can become a pure devotee. But also, we all know that we have been struggling with so many different kinds of anarthas, so many different kinds of misconceptions. So we have to deal with that. We need to be patient. Utsahan, Nishchayat, Dhairyat. These three are very important sutras that is given by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have to be enthusiastic. Nishchayat, we need to be firm. We need to be patient. These three things are very much required. So that's the exact point Srila Prabhupada is giving here. He's pointing out that we need to meditate for a longer time. A yogi has to meditate for a longer time. That means what? He needs to patiently keep trying and have faith in this process. Go on chanting, go on associating with devotees, and then have faith, and definitely by the mercy of the devotees and the Lord, one will be able to overcome a huge pile of anarthas, a huge mountain of anarthas can be overcome. Although it looks hope against hope, but our acharyas are again and again recommending us to continue take up to the process of devotional service. Apart from that, if you think of something else, there is no hope, let me give it up, that we are going to be deeply in soup, being engaged in So much sense gratification. That's what is going to happen. There is only two things. Either there is satisfying the senses of Krishna or satisfying our senses. So if we are going to give up the process of satisfying the senses of Krishna, which is not engagement in devotional service, we are going to be engaged in trying to satisfy our senses. So it is always auspicious in any situation, favorable, unfavorable, whatever may be, we should continue to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So that means we have to continue to chant the names of Krishna. We should continue to associate with the devotees of the Lord. We should continue to engage in the service from within our capacity, beyond our capacity, whatever that we need to do, we need to endeavor. In fact, there is a beautiful verse in the Padma Purana which makes the point that a question is being raised, but like I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but my mind is just wandering here and there. So many bad thoughts are appearing. So the acharyas are recommending that whatever, even if it appears like our chanting is on the level of Nama Aparad, nevertheless continue to chant the names of Krishna. So I'm not able to recollect the verse. It's a beautiful verse. It says that continue to chant the names of Krishna even if there are offenses. Not that, again, when we see the 10 offenses to the holy name, consciously one should not develop material desires. But acknowledge we should not artificially think that we are in a very advanced state. We know what is our situation. We know where we are. Continue to acknowledge that there are defects, but then consciously avoid developing material desires. Nevertheless, continue to chant the names of Krishna. Continue to associate with devotees. Continue to avoid prajalpa. So in that way, what happens? By the patient process and sticking to the words of the acharyas, we will be purified. So it says that the more we chant the names of Krishna, the more we will be purified. Krishna is Paramam Pavitram. He is the purest of pure. So by associating more and more with the holy name, consciously avoiding the offenses, we will be able to gradually rise to the stage of anartha nivritti. That will happen. So that's the point we reminded ourselves. Srila Prabhupada continues in this purport. So those who practice the yoga system must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time after following the regulative principles and thereby controlling the senses. So again, we have to control the senses, we have to follow the regulative principles. Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayan indriyaischaran atmavashyer videyatma prasadam adhigacchati. So Krishna gives this instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that we have to endeavor to give up the raga and dvesha. And while endeavoring in that process, by following the regulative principles of freedom, what happens is we try to invoke the mercy of the Lord. So this is what happens. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain. It is specifically mentioned here in this verse that Bhagavatas Charanara Vindam. One has to think of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Mayavadis imagine that one can think of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or Goddess Durga to achieve liberation. But this is not so. Bhagavataha. So here again the point is that our process is very clear. We have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, not on anybody. In any difficulties, any problem, any situation, we go back to the Lord. We go back to the taking shelter of the Lord, and we don't take shelter of the demigods. This is again another point. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport that a relationship with the lotus feet of the Lord can even enhance the importance of Lord Shiva. What to speak of other ordinary living entities. Yeah. So this is again another inspirational points that is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary to this particular verse. He says that what happens when we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. So he points out, so we have been in some of the verses also we read. So when we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, we study the Lord's, what is the difference between the Lord's lotus feet and the conditioned soul's lotus feet. You can immediately see the conditioned soul's lotus feet is stinking. The Lord's lotus feet is very auspicious. It is marked with several symbols. So he points out how the several symbols in the lotus feet of the Lord, it gives protection to his devotees. So here, few things I would like to share. He says, one should meditate continually upon the Lord's lotus feet, from which the Ganga flows and gives extra blessings to Lord Shiva on his head, and whose thunderbolt is released upon mountains of sin in the meditator's mind. So that's why when we come, we offer a pranam to Srila Prabhupada, then we offer pranam to Gaur-Nitaya. Immediately what do we do? As from the teachings of Queen Kunti we learn, the first thing that we do is we look at the lotus feet of the Lord. We meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. And then from the lotus feet, gradually we raise to up to the face. Thighs, then the hip, and then the chest. So it's a practice. It's for a devotee who is very advanced, for him it's natural. For conditioned souls, our mind is going here, so many places. But then by practice, and then by engaging in this practice, we gradually develop this habit of thinking of ourselves of Krishna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anuspara yudhyacha mai arpita mano buddhir mame vaishya samshaya. Krishna points out in the Bhagavad Gita. He says in the 8th chapter that we have to somehow or other develop to think of Krishna. And then he says that in the process of devotional service also, the beginning stages we may do it mechanically, but then gradually by the association of advanced devotees, we try to think of Krishna during the day. Sometimes, devotees ask, so what is the color of the deities? What is the color of the dress that the deities were wearing today? Sometimes we don't even think about it. Many times we just forget. Sometimes I ask the boys, so they remember. They said, oh, today the background is red color. The deity dresses are this color. It's a good meditation. It's good to think about it. So that's how. These are some examples like that. In various activities, we can think of Krishna. And then what's the result of that? As here Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur points out, that the result is that we can, the mountain of sin will be broken down into pieces. Okay. Now, although that's not the goal, as a practicing sadhaka, we know that goal of our practice of pure devotional service is not to come out of the sin. Although it's a byproduct, it happens. But a devotee always wants to please the Lord. He wants to develop love for Krishna. And this is the byproduct, it happens. Then you see, there are some more interesting things. Then he says that, and Shiva thinks, I have become fortunate. How he has become fortunate? By holding the Ganga on his head. The devotee meditates on the foot marked with the thunderbolt being released upon a mountain of sins of meditator. The devotee meditates as well on the elephant goad to lead the elephant of his mind on the right path. It's very interesting. So you can see in the marks of the lotus feet, there is also elephant goad. So by meditating on that, it says that his comparison is given the mind. Also you can see that when the elephant goes to the garden, it just destroys the garden. Similarly, the mind, it can just kill us when it is not properly regulated. So he says that crazy mind can be subdued by thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord. Then he goes on to explain. He meditates on the Lord's foot to ornament the lake of his mind. He meditates on the flag to give the highest kingdom to the mind. So it's very interesting. So he's saying, when you just conquer something, what do you know? You just put the flag. Similarly, the mind may ask for so many different things. It may ask for men, women, followers, name, fame, glories, position. All these things are useless. The real happiness, the real abode is the lotus feet of the Lord. So you just meditate on that. That is what we have to hanker for. So by meditating on the flag, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out that. He meditates on the barley corn to give the highest fame. He meditates on the umbrella to give the relief from 3 miseries. So you are under the shelter when you are scorching heat. So we are all looking for some shade. So the lotus feet of the Lord is the real shade. What is that beautiful song? Koti Chandra, Nitai Pada Kamala, Koti Chandra Shushitala. Koti Chandra Shushitala. You can see in the evening, after the hot sun, when there is the moon rise, you can see gradually as the moon sets in, it becomes a little cool. So what about Koti Chandra Shushitala? Crores and crores of moon, how cooling it is. That is a cooling effect that we get by taking shelter of the pure devotee who directs us to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is the process that is being meditated upon. So here, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they are meditating on they are offering the respectful obeisances to them. Now, there is another beautiful verse in the Padyavali which points out about the auspiciousness one derives by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Now, Srila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj, I think he points out that now we may think, now what do we do? Even so, for us, as we are practicing that Hare Krishnas, we are chanting the holy names of the Lord. We hold the to the beads of the beads. We had 108 beads. We chant with every bead we touch. I think Gaurkishor's Babaji Maharaj is pointing out that every bead he is meditating on the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touching the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So point is that we have to chant the names of Krishna clearly. This much endeavor we can do. We can try to chant the names clearly, try to hear the holy names. In that way, it's a very powerful process. So we have to give ourselves to Krishna during that time. It's not only, so gradually it starts like that. While chanting japa, you give your time. Then a devotee more and more, he practices Krishna consciousness very seriously. In every dealings, in every activity, he actually becomes more and more conscious. Becomes more and more conscious that actually I'm doing everything for Krishna. So each and every one of his dealings, he is understanding that actually it is for the pleasure of the Lord. So this is one point. Then, like we have already come to the section of the prayers, but still in all our discussions, I just thought of one other point to discuss about the precarious situation that Nalakuvara and Manigriva that they were put into. So we cannot forget the whole chapter also deals with the dangers that one can get into by the effect of wealth. When one is enamored by the wealth, position and pride, one can the result is very, very dangerous. So in that connection, I was just thinking of one very instructive incident from the Mahabharata. Not to forget the story of Nahusha. So we had many discussions, so this was not discussed. So I just brief just to remind, Nahusha, he became a python. Into the Mahabharata, you remember. So the Pandavas were going, and then he was released from the state of python by having interactions with Bhima, having Bhima raising. He asked several questions to Bhima, and Bhima answered several questions. So that's another part. But how Nahusha got into such a situation is a lesson to learn. So Nahusha, the Indra, after the killing of Dhritarashtra, he went and hid himself. And then, so they needed someone to rule the heaven. So they were asking Nahusha to take the position of King Indra, and till Indra is reinstated, so Nahusha should rule. So, but Nahusha expressed his inability. Then the other rishis, they said that, no, we will help you with that. You please take the position and do this service. So this is a point, that immediately after Nahusha took the position of Indra, gradually within a short span of time, he became really puffed up. He forgot his actual position, and he started to immediately Bhogeshwarya Prasaktanam. This is what happened to him. He was gradually he was eaten by the position, and then he tried to do a disastrous thing. He wanted to enjoy the wife of Indra, Sachi Devi. So Sachi Devi was she was very uncomfortable, so she had to express her situation to Brihaspati, and Brihaspati in turn, he said that he was trying to give her protection, and then Indra gave the suggestion to Sachi Devi how he can come out of the situation. He said that go and take shelter of the Saptarishis, they will help you, and you go and tell Nahusha that, okay, I will abide by your instruction. I'm making the story very short. There is an important point in this. So you just tell them that, if you come in palanquin, and then with Saptarishis carrying you, and then I will come in the palanquin to your house. So in that way, so Nahusha was completely bewildered by his position, by lust, and by his wealth and his apparent situation. Then he just could not think about anything. He became crazy. So he was ready to call the Saptarishis to carry him in the palanquin. So he carried. So the Saptarishis carried him in the palanquin, and then while carrying, because being carried away by the lust, so he pushed them. He pushed. In fact, it was that Agastya Rishi, I think. He was trying to push him to go fast. So he was trying to kick him with the legs. And then he was saying that, he said, Sarpa, Sarpa. He was pushing him that, So he's saying that, Sarpa also has got one meaning that, it's like move fast, go fast. So then Agastya became angry. He said that, okay, you become Sarpa. So Sarpa also became a serpent. So that's how he became a python. So this is a very instructive story that that the person, when he is bewildered by lust, by wealth, one can just completely, he cannot discriminate. It's lost. He needs the help of someone. So that's why it's very important to be in association of devotees. Then also we can see here The merciful, in few prayers before, in one of the purports, Prabhupada is pointing out that Krishna is so merciful in spite of whatever offenses that Nalakura and Manigriva performed because of Narada Muni's words. So the Lord, who can forgive like the Lord? Nobody can forgive like the Lord and his pure devotees. They forgive whatever offenses somebody has committed, and they accept the person when someone surrenders to the Lord. So Nalagura and Manigriva, they were in their glorification. They are also pointing out that, when Lord, you are so merciful, you forgave whatever that we have done. You have given us shelter. So that's one interesting point. So with that, I just conclude this with this beautiful verse for us in this Kali Yuga, because here the point is that the Lord descends in various incarnations to annihilate the demons. So the Lord specifically in Kali Yuga has descended as the holy name. The Lord brings in auspiciousness for all of us. So one of the author, he's pointing out, I'll just read because it's already time up, so I'm just going to read the translation of this verse. So the verse, you can just afterwards look into that. It starts with Kalyananam Nidhanam. It's a beautiful verse which is glorifying about the holy name. Here Sri Rupa Goswami in his Padyavali points out that, make Krishna's holy name, which is a reservoir of all transcendental happiness, the destruction of Kali Yuga's sins, the most purifying of purifying things, the saintly person's food, as he quickly traverses the path of the spiritual world. So what is the assert that the saintly person is having when he is taking to the path of spiritual life? Nothing he has. No, he is niskin. He is called akinchana. Akinchana gochara. A pure devotee has got nothing to hold, but he holds on to the holy name. That is his only food. So then he goes on to say that the pleasure garden where the voices of the greatest saints, philosophers and poets play. So the great devotees of the Lord, for them you can see so many poetry is composed about the glories of the holy name and about the Lord's devotional service. That's what the holy name is giving to the pure devotees. That's the only shelter for them. And then he says that the seed of the tree of religion. So also we can just remember the prayer that is offered by Yamaraj. The pure devotional service in Kali Yuga starts with what? Tannama Grahanadibihi. It starts with the chanting of the holy name. Pure devotional service is beginning with the chanting of the holy name. So that is being pointed out. So the seed of the true religion brings transcendental auspiciousness to you all. So he says that Kalyanana Nidhanam. So that's it. So that's the whole point. So for us, the Lord, somebody asked, so where is the Lord? Yes, the Lord has descended. The Lord is always with us. He is continuously incarnating. As we chant the names of the Lord is present with us. So that is what can bring all auspiciousness. So that's what we are doing as a Hare Krishna movement. We are distributing the holy name. We are distributing the books. We are worshipping the deities of the Lord. We are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We are engaged in Harikatha. In all these things, what is it that being stressed? That is being stressed is the glorification of the holy name. So ultimately we have to develop faith in the holy name, and that's what the whole process is all about. So we will see some more prayers, and then where Nalakora and Manigriva are glorifying God. So I'll stop here. Anybody has got any questions, any realizations, any point, anything to add? Yes, bro. Yeah, it's a very important point that that the very nature of this material world, specifically conditioned souls like us, we take up service. We have been given responsibilities, and when we are not sufficiently purified, then we are just immediately we are carried away. Even we can see the examples of advanced devotees also. The more the devotee becomes advanced, the more he identifies himself as an insignificant servant of the Lord. In fact, that's the constitutional position. And in fact, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself sets the tone or sets the mood. While when he identifies himself, he doesn't identify himself as a Vipra, doesn't identify himself as sannyasi, doesn't identify himself as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or any position, or as a Brahmachari, or a Grahastha, or Vanaprastha. He identifies himself as Gopi Bhratya Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudas. Easy to say, but that's what is our real position. We need to remind ourselves. That's why continuously hearing with us in the association of devotees helps us. And also, by in the association of devotees, we're thoroughly purified. Our ego is purified. It's difficult for us to digest, but real purification happens, and we can make progress like that. And we can see several examples. Even in this example of Nahusha, and also we see, as Prabhu says, Krishna Prabhu says that so many we have seen in the past. But when we are not in the proper guidance of devotees, we are carried away. So, but when we are in the association of right devotees, we are on a safe path. They immediately correct us. And we are also, if we are ready to hear, ready to be open, devotees help. And then there's another problem also. If you are not ready to hear, everything is being blocked. Nobody is ready to come forward and tell you. Our japa may be strange, but we are a little humble. People will come and correct us. And then and our attitude in service also very much matters. So we may be doing so many different kinds of service. As Srila Prabhupada points out in the Nectar of Instruction, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. We may be doing so many things very nicely, but if our attitude is not proper, very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So the whole process of pure devotional service molds our attitude. The right association of devotees, it helps us. So and these prayers, as we also discussed before, these prayers makes us always reminds us that we are very insignificant, and also it invokes the mercy of the Lord and His pure devotees. So as I think I remember His Holiness Sasarup Maharaj in his Japa Reform notebook, he says that devotee should always walk with prayers. That means what? By chanting Hare Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds is not only when you chant of 16 rounds, but off the beads. We say, with the beads we chant 16 rounds. Even otherwise, we should learn to always be prayerful. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.